This is the Story Power Marketing Show with Tom Ruwitch. Make yourself comfortable and fasten your seatbelt. Tom and his guest are about to share powerful stories, trade business building insights, and have a few laughs. Tom created this podcast to help you captivate prospects and inspire them to act so you can get more clients quickly and easily. That's what powerful storytelling is all about. That's what this podcast is all about. So let's get this party started. Here's your host, Tom Ruwitch.
Hello and welcome to the Story Power Marketing Show. My name is Tom Ruwitch, and today's episode is called 7 Secrets to Entrepreneurial Success. My guest today is John Hewitt, a renowned entrepreneur who is best known for founding 2 of the largest tax preparation companies in the United States, Jackson Hewitt and Liberty Tax. Both companies represent 2 of the top 100 largest retail organizations in North America. With most of my podcast guests, I take the bio they send me, edit it for clarity, and carve out chunks of it to save time and get to the conversation. And with John Hewitt, I'm going to share with you almost every word he sent, plus a few details I added. He's earned it, and his story is fascinating, loaded with lessons. He was born in Detroit, Michigan, and raised in New York. Hewitt's entrepreneurial spirit was evident from a young age. He started his career as a tax preparer for H&R Block, and he quickly rose through the ranks to become a regional director. However, he realized that he had a vision for a different kind of tax preparation company, one that prioritized customer service and convenience. In 1982, John founded Jackson Hewitt, which quickly became one of the most successful tax preparation companies in the country. With an innovative software and a focus on customer service, Jackson Hewitt grew to over 6,000 locations nationwide at the top of the company's success. In 1997, John sold Jackson Hewitt to Cendant Corporation for over $480 million. But he wasn't done. In 1998, he founded Liberty Tax, which became a major player in the tax preparation industry with over 4,000 locations at one time in the United States and Canada. In 2018, John founded Loyalty Brands, a cohesive group of franchise businesses and services designed to work together to help the franchise buyer prosper, both quickly and over the long term. Throughout his career, John has been recognized for his entrepreneurial achievements. He's received numerous awards, including the Ernst Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award in 2003 and the International Franchise Association's Entrepreneur of the Year Award in 2005. He's also a member of the Ernst Young Entrepreneurship Hall of Fame and the Junior Achievement Business Hall of Fame. In addition to his success in business, John is also a philanthropist who has dedicated his time and resources to helping others through fighting world hunger and other charitable endeavors. John Hewitt, welcome to the Story Power Marketing Show.
Thank you, Tom. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and in spending some time with your book and listening to some podcasts you've been in, just following your approach to business. I told you before we came on the air that I probably could have come up with 15 secrets for entrepreneurial success from all of the things that you teach and all of the things that you model in your history and in your work today. But we boiled it down to 7. And I want to just begin to walk through these because I know that we could probably devote an entire episode to each one of these topics. Let's talk about each of them for just a brief bit, starting with the importance of developing and following systems. I know this goes all the way back to Jackson Hewitt. Talk to us about the importance of developing and following systems.
Yeah, it's as all my career, all of my 54 years have been in franchising. And it's our job as a franchisor to create the best model in the industry, whatever industry it is. If I do my job, then Your job as a franchisee is to follow that system. Now Tom, you would think that'd be automatic. I've been doing this 54 years. Some of my new franchisees that started last month haven't been doing it 54 minutes.
Right.
And yet out of the 5,200 franchisees I brought in, not one has ever listened 100%.
Right.
It's amazing. It's human nature. It's human nature. Human beings can, and if I don't know if you have children, but my 6 children didn't listen. I didn't listen to my parents.
Yep.
Human beings just have to learn the hard way. They say that smart people learn from their own mistakes. I don't know many smart people. And they say wise people learn from the mistakes of others. Those people are so far and few between. Developing the best system is the reason that you become a franchisee. When you build a business, you need people and you need systems, and you can't prosper without both. And so people are the great thing about franchising is they're all entrepreneurs. In my career, I've had thousands of employees, and not 3% of them act like owners. But almost all my owners act like owners. And so we out-hustle, outperform, outwork the competitor who has mostly company stores. And in the tax industry, in my industry that I joined in 1969, H&R Block has mostly company stores. So when I put my entrepreneur alongside of them, face to face in the neighborhood, and we're going to outwork them, out-hustle them, outperform them, then it's a competitive advantage. And if David and Goliath if David had gone on to the field with the same sword and armor and shield as Goliath, there wouldn't be a David and Goliath story. He'd be the 189th guy killed by Goliath. You have to have a system, but it has to be different. It has to be different than your competitor.
Yeah. And you mentioned hard work and hustle, and indeed very valuable and very important for business success. But what happens if you don't have the right systems in place is that you are over hustling and working harder than you have to because you're making things up as you go along, or repeating things that don't need repeating. Systems allow you to create efficiencies and find time savings and not have to reinvent the wheel every time you step into a process that is repeated in your business.
You can't. When you think about systems, think about McDonald's. McDonald's, my grandchild, my 10-year-old grandchild, can go to the grocery store, buy some hamburger and a bun and some condiments, and bake a better hamburger than McDonald's. Right? And better tasting, cheaper. But who sells more hamburgers? McDonald's has a 25% market share in the United States. They sell more than Burger King and Wendy's and Hardee's combined. And so it isn't because of quality of product. It's about the system, which includes location, cleanliness, the prices, the everything. The system is everything at a McDonald's.
Yep. Completely agree, John. And let's move on now to another core principle of the work that you do, and that's exceed customer expectations. What do you mean by that when you talk about exceeding customer expectations?
Yeah, one of my favorite business authors he really made it stand out for me. Because when I was young and in my 30s and 40s, it was customers. In fact, at Jackson Hewitt, we set our mission statement about 1990, winning customers for life. And we always talk about customer service. But Stan Phelps described it in a unique way that I'd never heard before, that we now measure customer service different than anyone else I know. And what he said is, when you come to a meeting, that let's say a dinner at 6 o'clock, you either come early or late. Almost no one comes in exactly when the clock strikes 6, right? You're either early or late. And he said, in the same manner, you don't almost ever just meet a customer's expectation. You fail to meet it or you exceed it. And so that was so valuable when I read that book 15 or 20 years ago, that we measure, we don't measure customer service by number of referrals or retain. We measure by the percentage of customers that we exceed their expectations every year, knowing we're never going to be 100%. But our goal every year is to exceed a higher and higher percentage of customers' expectations.
I love that. And the reason, among the reasons that that's so important, is that many of us are in businesses that, like it or not, are perceived as commodities. I could go get tax prep services from the other guy or hire some accountant down the street or whatever. And what exceeding customer expectations is all about is decommoditizing your business, is putting yourself in a position where it's no longer just about the commodity price and the race to the bottom, but it's about why you should be able to charge a little more, why you should be able to expect people to stick with you year over year over year. That happens when you exceed customer expectations, doesn't it?
At lunch, I heard a simple, great example.
Yeah.
The guy I was having lunch with said, I went to Chick-fil-A and he said, sir, is this about the right amount of ice? And he went to Taco Bell and the guy just threw ice in and like he's bothered to have another customer. And so, and he asked the Chick-fil-A guy, I mean, why did you ask me that? That's so novel. And he pointed up in the sky and he said, that's just the culture of our organization.
Yeah. And what I love about that, John, is there's the old expression, go the extra mile, right? Well, that's not going an extra mile. It's going an extra foot. It couldn't be easier. Take 1 second and ask a customer, how much ice do you want? Yeah.
I love the phrase, there's very little traffic on the extra mile.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. But it doesn't have to feel so hard. It's not a marathon. It's not a long run. It's just a quick little thing. Just plussing your business one step at a time can be a really powerful way to exceed customer expectations. The next thing we're going to talk about is really an umbrella for all of these things that we're discussing, and that's the notion of thinking strategically, not being reactive, but looking to the future and really sort of paying attention to trends, not just seeing problems and reacting to them, but envisioning solutions. I know that's something that you've applied to all of the businesses you've built, and would love to hear you talk about that a bit.
Sure. I'm often asked, what separates great leaders from ordinary leaders to failures? And I said, the greatest leaders, the Steve Jobs, the Bill Gates, the inventors, the greatest leaders have a vision that's fairly accurate. And then they have to be fairly accurate. It doesn't have to be exactly accurate. I mean, almost no one can predict where they're going to be, or the country's going to be, or the world's going to be 3 years from now, or 5 years from now, or 2 years. As you get, even tomorrow, who knows what's going to happen in the world, right? Something's going to surprise us. So, but you have to have a fairly accurate view of your business and your business future. And then the second part of that is you have to get everyone to buy in. You have to, once you can have the best, most accurate view in the world, but if no one buys in, then you got nothing. So you have to get your investors, your customers, your employees, your franchisees, your vendors. You have to have a fairly accurate version of the future, and you have to then sell it. And I'll give you a simple example that my strategic vision when I started Jackson Hewitt was pretty simple. H&R Block had 9,000 locations. The second biggest operator, tax service, had 200. Now, isn't it clear that there's room for a number two player? There's always a Burger King. There's always a Ford. There's always a number 2 or 3.
An Avis,
right? Avis, right? There's always There's always a number 2 or 3, and so there was this big void there. So my strategic vision was pretty simple back in 1982 when I decided I'm going to be bigger than H&R Block. And we bought 6 offices from Mel Jackson's widow and I said, I'm going to be bigger than H&R Block. Well, as you said earlier, I never got to 9,000 that they had, but I got to 6,000, which became $1 billion company. So I invented a $1 billion company simply on the things that we're talking about today, the theories that we're running by your listeners today.
Yeah, and the strategic thinking, as you noted a moment ago, there are going to be surprises. There are going to be unexpected bends in the road. And so the next principle is innovate, but it's not just innovate, period. It's innovate and adapt. Let's talk a little bit, especially about the and adapt part.
Yeah, you're going to be knocked down. I mean, God doesn't put anyone on planet to escape. I brought in 5,200 franchisees with hundreds of thousands of employees, seen hundreds of thousands of people in my career. And I've never met a person that didn't get knocked down, that didn't have a barrier that they had to overcome. So the winners get up and figure a way to move on and with the current situation. So one of the differences between me and normal people is I never waste time looking back and saying, what if? What if that hadn't happened? Then I might have done this. That's such a waste of time. Every day you're faced with, almost every day, if not every day, every hour, you're faced with unusual circumstance. And it's the way you react to that circumstance and the way you have to plan. Once that's happened, once someone made a mistake, I mean, I don't remember the CEO, but that said this, but a guy made a huge marketing mistake, and he cost the company $100,000. And he went into someone like Sam Walton and said, I screwed up. Here's my resignation. And Sam Walton said to him, you know what? I just gave you $100,000. You got $100,000 education. You got to go figure out what to change to run with that, right? So you have to adapt. You have to be able to adapt, because no one, as I said, no one can predict 5 years from now, 3 years from now, and probably not even tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. And what we're really talking about is that concept of failing forward. If you fail, if you make a mistake and then you just wallow in the misery, by definition, you're just going to be stuck in that mud. But if you look at what happened, if you learn from it, if you adapt, you are failing forward. And yeah, you're going to stumble, you're going to slow down, but you are going to make the kind of progress that allows you to build a meaningful business and serve your clients.
Vince Lombardi said, winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. And he said also that when we go out in the field, we always have a plan to win, knowing that we're not always going to win, but we're either going to win or we're going to learn to adapt to be better, more likely to win the next time.
Yep. Amen. So one thing that's obvious in talking to you is that you are a lifelong learner. You pay attention, you learn, you absorb, and being a lifelong learner is one of those principles I hear you talk about again and again. So let's talk about that now, because I'm with you on this one, John. I'm with you on all these, but I'm especially with you on this idea of being a lifelong learner. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the most, having brought in 5,200 franchisees, you can't please everyone, right? I mean, let's say I decided to give them all $10,000. You would think they'd all be happy. Well, the big one's going to complain. I'm paying $1 million in royalty, and that guy's paying $5,000. If he gets 10,000, I should get $1 million. The guy that's making 5,000, paying 5,000 royalties, losing money. The guy that's paying $1 million is making a profit of 1.5 million. He says he's already making money. He doesn't need the 10,000. I should have this 10. You can't please everyone. And in the franchise world, it's if you embrace criticism. I've learned that change is difficult if no one tells you what you did wrong. It's so much easier if you embrace criticism. And so I've learned to embrace criticism. And again, having 5,200 franchisees with hundreds of thousands of employees, I'm one of the most criticized people on the planet, but I learned for it. For example, one of the situations, it happened 30 years ago, probably. And my director of marketing was so upset that a franchisee in Los Angeles TV crew called him on April 15th and said they're coming in to see him. And so he called up corporate headquarters and said, what do I do? What do I say? How do I handle this? And there was no one there for the marketing department. Now, my marketing officer later said, well, that's because we're all out in the field working. But he complained about that. And she said, this is the worst franchisee in the whole system. I mean, he's a total loser. Why are you listening? And I said, because out of our thousands of franchisees, how many are going to get a visit during the tax season from a TV, a newspaper, every TV news, every radio news, every newspaper is going to write something on taxes. So why are we having a training session in our basic training and our advanced training? Why don't we devote some time to that? And why isn't it in our operating manual of this is what you do when and so we improved. It was from the worst franchise in the country, maybe the worst ever, but it was great advice that improved our system. So you got to embrace advice from everyone.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I recently heard you say on someone else's podcast, the journey is the joy. The journey is the joy. I love that expression. And I'd like you to unpack it for us.
Sure. I'll tell you that, believe it or not, when I was a teenager, I was cocky. And, I've always lived in this age of bliss. Most people get beat down when they're 8, 9, 10 years old and say, you can't do that. You can't be president. You can't be Batman. You can't do this. You can't. But they never beat me down. So I knew I was incredibly confident that I was going to be rich. And I thought, okay, I'm 5 years, 10 years, I'm rich, I'll just retire. And then I realized in the process, what would I do? Yeah. I'm a life master chess player, life master bridge player. I read a lot, but I can't go sit on the beach. I don't want to sit on the beach. I don't want to go boating and fishing and golfing. I want to help people. And so I learned that when you get that, it took me 15 years at Jackson Hewitt to build it up to about a public company, about $500 million that we cashed in. The treasure at the end of the rainbow is anticlimactic. It's the 15 years that's the joy. And if you don't enjoy them, boy, did you miss out. Right. Life's short, right? Life's short. You have to enjoy every day. And part of that is I invented, I think, thank God it's Monday. Most people thank God it's Friday. My philosophy is on Monday morning, you're going to work, you're not looking forward to it, you're going to the wrong place.
Yeah. Yeah. And I often talk about the fact that one of my least favorite phrases is work-life balance, as if there's work over here and life over here, and somehow they're in entirely different buckets. What you're talking about aligns with what I mean by this, that no, your work and your life are intertwined. Yes, there's leisure time versus office time, but you need to find joy in all of it, and you can find joy in all of it. It's all part of your life. It's not a separate thing. And I love your philosophy and your approach to this. And I also love the fact that you really focus on giving back. It's a big part of your life and a part of your business. It's the 7th principle and secret I wanted to dive into with you today. Talk about your philanthropic bent and your approach to giving back and why it's such an important part of your life.
Yeah. When I was younger, I really didn't understand this one principle. And that is that the more I gave, the more I got back. Mm-hmm. And so as I began to get wealthy, I felt called to help. And I don't talk about this a lot, but we started a World Hunger Organization same time I started Liberty Tax in January of 1998. And it was called Stop Hunger Now, because my heart was called out to starving people. And I couldn't find any organization in the world, or especially the United States, that just saved people's lives. They all took them and tried to teach them how to sustain themselves afterwards, which is important, or about Christ, that's important. But I wanted, while you're teaching them how take care of themselves in the future, there's thousands of people dying over there. And so we started an organization just for that purpose. So we're like the Marines. We go in and save lives and then turn them over to other people who want to talk to them about God, or help them manufacture or fish or farm or take care of themselves in the future. So I'm proud to say that it was myself and a Methodist minister. He did all the work. I put up all the money for the first 2 or 3 years, and he was the only employee. And now there's 100 employees.
Oh, fantastic.
That was January of '98, and now there's 100 employees, and we've distributed over 500 million meals around the world.
Where do you focus?
Like 70 countries.
Where do you focus geographically? Is it all over the globe, or
it's in 70 countries?
70 countries. Wow.
Yeah, if you want to see it, and they suffer at different times, because the two things that I've learned in my journey with world hunger, the two reasons for hunger and starvation is unclean water. Because you have to have clean water, or you can go without eating for 30 days. You can't go without clean water for 7 days. So you have to have clean water. And then governments are the biggest reason for starvation. We get kicked out of countries when a new dictator comes in. Sometimes we've been there helping for decades or years, and they throw us right out. And because you're not allowed to, they call them peasants, are used, the general populace are used as pawns in a chess game of the various adversaries in the government. So, but I learned, that the more I gave, the more I received. Now, Tom, I almost never received more from the person I gave it to.
Yeah.
But something good happens to me.
Yeah.
Right? Something good happens to me. A great contract, a great number of new franchises, a great employee, a great child born, or someone cured of some disease. The more I gave, the more I received. And I asked one of my best friends, a pastor, about a year or two ago. I said, I don't think I invented that. And he said, no, in the Bible, John, it says, God said to Mordecai, try to outgive me. So I've learned I can't outgive. The more I give, the more I receive.
Yeah. And it speaks to the previous principle as well. It's part of the journey. It's part of the joy. The journey of giving, it feeds the joy of the experience. I think it's wonderful, John. You are sitting in the offices of Loyalty Brands. It's your current venture, 2018. And tell us a little bit about it and about the franchise biz and how you help franchisees navigate this complicated world.
Right. My first two successes were with Jackson Hewitt, which was one brand, and then Liberty Tax, which was one brand. And this time, because of my non-compete with Liberty, I was looking around at what to do. And I was in a meeting with one of my former employees who had been with me at both Jackson Hewitt and Liberty. He was a franchise attorney, and he represented about 35 franchise companies. He said, why don't you get out of tax? He said, why don't you think about other franchise industries? And so we began looking and merging we have 8 different brands under one umbrella. So I did one with Jackson Hewitt, one with Liberty, and with Loyalty Brands, we have 8 brands. We have 2 that are growing by leaps and bounds, and the other 6 are kind of from my definition, plotting. I'm used to opening thousands of locations. But the 2 most exciting industries are income tax, which I'm fondly call myself the great grandfather of income tax, but also mobile dog grooming. I'm falling in love with pets. I fall in love with everything pet.
Well, that's great. And so how is this different? If I picked up a copy of Entrepreneur magazine and paged through the hundreds of different franchise opportunities, and I'm trying to do it on my own, navigate the space, or there are consultants all over this world who might help me find a franchise. What is it that you're doing beyond just making the opportunities available? What is it that Loyalty Brands does for its clients and the people who pick up the phone or fill out the form on the website to learn more?
Yeah, there's a couple things that are differentiators with what we do versus everyone else does. Number one is they get mentoring. Not only myself, I've mentored 5,200 entrepreneurs, if you can believe that, right? 5,200 people. I've taken them from nothing until something, right? And all stages in between. And one of my board of directors is the longest lasting consultant from the International Franchise Association, Bob Gappa. He's consulted with over 1,500 franchisors over the years. So we're going to give you mentorship that you can't get anywhere else. The reason we call it Loyalty Brands is I have so many people that are loyal to me that are with me. I have 335. I have 5 30-year, 5 25-year, 7 20-year veterans. We have more experience than anyone in the industry. So you're going to get mentorship. Plus, we get cross-marketing. So, for example, if you look at our largest grooming franchise, he has 5,000 customers of 5,000 database. Well, that's 5,000 tax customers, right? All 5,000 need a tax return done. And then if you look at my largest tax service office, they have 7,000 customers, and more than half of them have a dog. And so we do cross-marketing of the brands. So we do cross-marketing, we do mentoring, and we give you the best system in each industry.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And how do people find out about it?
It's easy to find, loyaltybrands.com.
Loyaltybrands.com. There's only one way that I know of to spell that. So loyaltybrands.com. It's going to be in the show notes. Your charity, we're going to share that in the show notes. Anything else, John? Parting thoughts? Anything you wanted to cover that we didn't have a chance to dive into?
I would just say to every person, if you're thinking of changing your life, find something you love to do, work hard, persevere.
Amen. Amen. John Hewitt, great pleasure talking to you. Thank you for all the great work that you've done, all that you've given back. And thank you for your time today and the advice that you've shared with our audience. This is one that I'm going to encourage my audience to go and click play, go find it on Apple, on Google, wherever you find your favorite podcast. And if you like what you've heard, then please give it a little 5-star rating. Give a little review. That's the way that you share the gift. If you have benefited from what John had to say today, go ahead and post that review so that you can share the gift. More people will find it. And then if you need more information on how to create content that attracts and captivates prospects as opposed to turning them away and having them tune out and move on, go to Story Power Marketing. And that's it for today on the Story Power Marketing Show. John Hewitt, thank you again, and we'll see everyone down the road.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Story Power Marketing Show with Tom Ruwitch. If you liked what you heard today, visit storypowermarketing.com/resources, where you can sign up for Tom's entertaining, informative, must-read emails. Download free business building resources and discover other opportunities to help you harness the power of storytelling. That's storypowermarketing.com/resources to help you captivate prospects, inspire them to act, and grow your business with greater ease and joy. Also, please remember to subscribe to the Story Power Marketing Show with Tom Ruwitch and review it on iTunes or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.